Hello, hello, hello.
Hi. Hey, pleasure. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Tell me about yourself. You told me you have been traveling here and there.
Oh, well, I think I'm sales representative for the worldwide distribution center. It's really busy, like in the data world nowadays.
Yeah.
But fine. Thank you very much for inviting me, and it's a pleasure, to talk again. It's already sort of a legacy talk.
Then I wanted to, for my audience, I wanted to, highlight that this guy is the culprit who made me start doing this podcast. And I know Marek like around four years now.
4 years been, yeah.
I think you are the first one who contacted me, and we started doing, catching up like this, and we did it for 3 years, and then we started recording, and now weekly basis. I'm already booked till end of March, actually, even in April.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So now I've started next week onwards, next to next week. I've started to bring another slot on Monday because now it was going on May, June so far. So I thought, okay, let's do two podcasts in a.
Two in a week. Ah, this
At
is
the
massive.
moment, I'm doing on Fridays only. So again, Marek, thank you so much for joining. I know you are traveling a lot, and thanks for taking our time. Just for our audience, just introduce yourself, what you're doing, about your company, your BI side. So just please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you very much. So my name is Marek Cernanski. Uh, I live in Slovakia at the moment, but previously I spent time in Czech Republic, in Prague, with many companies working as a consultant for different BI projects. And I founded previously one company, and then later I'm helping at the moment in Slovakia because I moved back where I was born in Žilina, and I started 5 years ago. It's been already 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah, it was the time when we met. So that's
Yeah.
where I started, and I'm helping my friends to expand the company in Slovakia because I felt that there are missing the part of the modern BI analytics in the market. So we founded the company, and from that point, we already finished. I think it was already 10th project, and we have 30 clients. We are focusing on on really large scale of BI part of the projects. It's not only about the tools. Most of the time, we start with the data sources, with the data governance, data quality, and then we focus on bringing so-called single source of truth. It's in the books, but when we come to the companies, it's never there. When we are leaving the projects, on all of our projects, there is always a single source of truth. And it's happening also that developers and IT guys are coming then to us and asking about the data. What does this mean? And what is the truth? And what is this kind of number? Because they know that there are many versions and many partial views on their processes. So this is our major value. And then, of course, when we finish these projects and showing the data, the customers are asking about. Previously, it was called predictive analytics. We call it data mining, but now it's old school. So nobody's doing data mining anymore. Everybody's doing AI, which is similar. It's 100% same. So in 60s, in 1960, 1980, it was data mining, and previously we called it like that. So now it's AI because it's boosted. So for the moment, we started also to help customers to understand what AI means, how to use it in the company, and we are preparing them while showing them the processes behind the scene. So we don't want to bring them the black boxes, but be showing them what the predictive analytics mean, what does the hyperparameters means, and bringing also the models. Now, of course, it's the major part is putting the data together. It's like 80% of the processes and bringing the data quality, uh, trying to persuade them to leave Excels behind. and it's really hard. So that's 80% of our work. Then we
I
bring in
saw
really,
somewhere, I saw somewhere Excel has come up with some more cool dashboarding inside the Excel, right? So they are still upgrading themselves.
Yeah, they are, they're the ones who leave the world. They will be here forever. So, but at least by the analytics, yeah, we want to show, the power uh, of the data modeling, especially what we've been talking about today. And then we're showing them the power of the predictive analytics. So they can find the possible answers and scenarios and stuff and do the optimizations or do kind of a forecasting more precisely and with less time, of course. So the major part is the cost saving and then of course the time savings what we bring together.
Okay, okay. So just for our audience, right? Our today's topic is about data modeling, and it's not a standard data modeling we'll be discussing. We'll be discussing from the angle of BI, right? Because data modeling can be a 3NF or OLTP application and data modeling. There are many data modeling in OLAP. We can start from Bill Inman, 3NF, data warehouse. We can go towards Raf Kimball, Star Schema, and Snowflake. We can go towards Data Vault. We can go towards Focal Point, Anchor Point, Assemble data modeling. We can go towards Hook. We have Bridge, Papini Bridge as well. Then what else? What I miss? New things. Papini has Francisco, right? He has come up with graph theory as well. So
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, it's really interesting.
so there are a lot of things, right? So yeah. So we'll be discussing this thing, right? So before I jump into it, right, I have a couple of more questions about your company as well. Let's take this opportunity as well because when we talk about BI, right, a lot of people think BI starts from the semantic layer. Data model is already done and dusted. You have the entities, you have the subject areas all defined there. Star schema XYZ is there. And then you start from semantic where you build semantic layer based on the business requirements. Then, as you mentioned, single source of truth. Semantic layer is not your single source of truth. Before semantic is single source of truth, right? So a lot of people think like, yeah, dashboarding is only BI, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, so help us on this one. Just elaborate this piece. Where, as an organization, as your company, where do you start? Right? You start from the use case. You start from the impact analysis. Where do you start? How you do it in your whole organization?
Yeah, this is very important point because usually the client is coming with the very precise idea
Hmm.
what he is asking from us, and his requirements are really straightforward. Like I want this and that and that, and he's coming directly like saying, okay, let's guy put together this part of 3 bullet points and then I'm fine. And yesterday I had a client in here and two guys, really cool guys. We met on the conference. I had the presentation and I was presenting 3 different data fallacies. Like exactly, I think I need this analysis because that will solve my problem. And I showed 3 different types of analysis that people spend the time on the analysis and they thought that will be the result to their problem. And after the presentation, the guys came to us and said, we need the new CRM and we need the consultancy on new CRM. So we don't go like that. Like, okay, so there are the tools and you can find like this. So we ask, why do you need that? Why is this happening? Why the question like this? So it's always from our side. We come in with the very detailed consultancy first, which is usually initial level of the presentations. I think it's called discovery. I don't like that word, but we call it free consultancy. So we spend usually like an hours and hours just talking about and consulting, and then they start to ask like, okay, so if this is not my problem, what is my real problem? So we will say like this is probably your symptoms, and we will find the right problem or the root cause of that problem, and then we'll find the data to solve it. But we need to do the analysis, and we're not going to start the projects with the waterfall scheme, like starting now and let's meet each other in 6 months. We go in a weekly basis level, combining with the consultancy. So we start with the analysis, we take sample data, and directly straight away we will show them to the client, and then create sort of a data modeling, which is kind of a mixture of the approaches, what you said, because there are many approaches to data modeling. So we use usually 2 or 3 approaches to data modeling with standard like denormalized table. Then we have simple model. We could have Pupini bridge, or we could have a data vault from the historical part, like snapshotting, and we're trying to reverse engineer the point where the customer is talking about his root cause. So we're trying to find, okay, where did that started? You started to ask that question. And you say, yeah, it started like a year ago because we thought we will be like investing and then the revenue will rise, but the increase was only 10% and we expected 20. And I said, why you thought it will be like that? So what was the data? Was it just like a gut feeling? And did you have a data at that moment? And this particular part takes usually 2 weeks. And after 2 weeks, we are very sure with the client where to start. And we pull just a sample of the data, so it doesn't take the time. And then from that perspective, client also has much clearer vision of what is going to happen and how to approach to the data and to future data modeling as well. Because what they're asking is, usually we call it a dashboarding. And then, when we go with a price quotation after these 2 weeks, we're coming then to the price quotation, and people like, they faint, like, what's this price? Nobody's going to pay that. And yeah, today I will be sending one price quotation where I'm sure the girl will come back and say, my boss will never, agree on this. So,
Okay.
but then we start to talk about that, like what will be the real return on investment, what will be of that, and then we will cut it in some kind of a phases, and the customer will see exactly the impact. So they can also measure themselves the impact. But what we have then is firmly path through the process. So we know what kind of problem are we solving. We know what is the root cause analysis of that problem. What sort of the data do we need? And we're not gonna usually build, I don't like even that word, a data warehouse for all-rounder problem solver, because I don't believe it exists anymore in this changing world, because it's really hard and really short period to have everything ready and solved. So we are just on that gliding level. So we glide the customer in 6 months different window. So we bring like MVP, BI, we usually call it, which is focused on the data governance and data quality. It doesn't matter, about the reports, not even dashboards might be neat and nice. They are just, tables and charts, but they are integrated, and that's the most important thing. So that's the basic. And then after, we will start talking about the data modeling. What could be the data modeling on the part of the data source, and how will that impact this single source of truth? So do we need 3 types of single source of truth? Will be for marketing, for sales, or for finance, or can we have just one? And
I
then
was
we'll put
I
them.
was about to come there when you said
Yeah.
source of truth. Yes, please continue here.
Yeah, and then it's easy, because when we over the first month, the customers see exact impact, because people are really fast in their analytics. The data are interchangeable, so we are still able to, because it's not fixed, we can still, leverage somehow, the sources. We can expand, the model. We can put extra columns. They can put their own Excel parts, which are only manually done, or kind of a bridges which are workaround, because IT had never time, to import them into standard data warehouse processing. So there are many workarounds, and we are using them and bringing them in world in a real time, analytics kind of things. So they're really happy after first month that things are happening, and they see their also path, and they are starting to ask new questions that they didn't even think previously they could ask. And this is exactly the point where I'm heading the customer. We've been talking in conference a month ago about three topics. Yesterday, when they were here, we spent 3 hours and they asked like 30 another questions. And they said, like these three questions are fine, but that will be solved probably in a year. We need these 30 points straight away. Let's put the data together because we know when we change probably 2% of each, it will be a huge impact for the company, and it will save us a lot of costs in a time, in a year, in a two. And we know we are safe, so we can then focus on those three topics we thought we will be doing with you. So that's a bit of a perspective that we are changing on the customer part. And then, of course, we are also listening to them. So sometimes we bring, two or three different topics, but then customers say, the priority is another level because, and they will say, from strategic point, it's not the probably money impact or the revenue impact, but it will have the major impact for the company inside. So then we are persuaded, okay, let's do that, even though we know it could be really expensive, it could be time consuming. And for us, from the outside world, the impact is not really seen that much. But they know that inside of the company, it will change the processes and the satisfaction of the people of the team, and they will be much happier. And this is also a part of our work then.
Okay, that's great. So you normally do end to end from business requirement up to the delivery, which includes data modeling, and you have people sitting there to do data modeling. And can I say that it means you also do the ETL part as well? Because once you create the data model, you have to process as well. Or you ask customers to give you the data engineers to process.
Usually we do everything ourselves.
Okay.
So we do also ETL parts, but exactly, we are asking for the engineers in the beginning, and we are asking about their roles in that part of ETL.
Okay.
80%, it stands like it's ours. It's our product. It's everything is ours. So we call it analytical ETL. It's not a processing ETL because they still have their processing ETL, but this analytical is wider and it's more freely, I would say. Yeah, because, and exactly, yeah, today we talk about the accounting. You have the ERP and you have the accounting and you have the financial model, and there are strict rules over, let's say, 30,000 tables. You can't simply take two warehouses and put them together, even though they were set wrong. Like 5 years ago, somebody just said two warehouses. Nobody knows why, because they had some plan. But
Amazing. Okay. Thanks for sharing for the first time in my life that here two warehouses in the one organization.
yeah, and then they say, and it's everything is wired there. We can't drop the first one because nobody knows what is going to impact the another one. And we were like, okay, no problem. So we will put them together and we will see, the processes are different. So we simply, rectify the processes on the level of the BI. So then they come to see the single source of truth on the level of the BI. So they usually enter the analytical tool, which might be a Snowflake or might be Oracle, whatever they want, a SAP HANA BI part. So they can create their own, but we show them how to do that, why, and then when it's ready and we know that the processes are fine, so we usually teach at least one or two guys so they are able to maintain the whole ETL part after when we leave the project. So it's a partial part. We start it, 80% it's on our part. When we leave the projects, 80% is on their part.
Okay. So it means you are a SI company who do the end-to-end solution, because when people must be going on your websites, this Tableau partner is such a big phrase over there. It looks like you only do front-end dashboarding.
That's our wish. That's what we wish to do, but it's always like that. You know, you've got this pyramid, and you start with data governance and
Yeah,
data policy, data infrastructure, and data architecture, and then the analytics is like on that last part, very small one. Now it's probably AI there,
yeah,
but
yes.
we always need to climb this pyramid. So it's like that, and we're really fine with that because we can even help, you know, the other guys who are not doing the Tableau. So it's very typical that a friend of mine is calling me and, you know, we have this different tool, but are you okay, you know, with the fixing, you know, stuff there underneath? And we said like, yeah, no problem. So we usually fix also for the other tools, but we fix this architecture or infrastructure
Okay.
part, you know, all these invisible wires and their bandwidth and the kind of a batching and stuff. So we also do this, and we're fine with that because it's for us, you know, it's still a part of the bringing the single source of truth, and this experience is very valuable because then your BI tool will be full of trust, you know, for people,
Hmm.
and your time to market will be very very fast.
Yeah. So now latching on to your word single source of truth, let's divert our discussion towards our actual topic, which is data modeling, right? So when you talk about single source of truth, you remember like a couple of years back, in fact, our first or second panel discussion, we discussed about centralized versus federated approach.
Generated, yeah, that was perfect. Unfortunately, it's not recorded. I think that would be the best one.
Yeah, that would have been best one, right? So yes, we can think about single source of truth if you have a centralized approach, but now world has gone towards federated approach.
Yeah, yeah,
Within
exactly.
federated, as I mentioned, so many data models. So I think let's first target this. If the world is in federated approach, how you can achieve single source of truth?
I think it's still possible. We are teaching that at the moment for one client who has 16 different companies, and they want their own business processes. And how we manage that? We usually use three levels, which we call I think it's from the legacy book. I never read that book probably, but I think it's still circulated somehow like every 10 years. So people will forget and then come back with the new names, but it's still the same. So it's like this bronze, silver, golden. It's this landing, domain, business.
Landing, staging, and transform. And
No,
even
yeah, but that's now it's different. Yeah, this is a little bit different. That's the trick. Yeah, landing, staging, and transform. Now it's different. Now it's time is different. But it's still this bronze, silver, and gold. So usually Oracle brought this gold. Even it was, I think, Golden Gate. They called it like
yeah,
the final data went through this Golden Gate because
yeah, I think medallion, this bronze, silver, gold is a medallion term, right? Which is Databricks, coined by Databricks, right? So, but end of the day, it's an old school landing, staging, or raw staging and transform. And
yeah, yeah,
within the
yeah.
transform, we can have a warehouse, we can have a semantic layer, we can have all those. So these are traditional there.
Yeah, yeah, but now what changed is this transform part because with the
Yeah.
T, you know, it's a little bit different, and this is what how we change that thing because what we usually do, we keep the same lending, we keep the same business, but the inside we just swap it somehow.
Okay.
We don't follow these rules then the staging and transform. We usually do exactly what we need to bring this single source of truth for uh, I would say, a cornerstone of the BI. So we bring the layer where all the tables are consumable for IT guys. So they understand everything there. They know the source data, they know the columns, they know the data that are coming exactly in the same granularity as they see there in their application. So they believe that these data in BI are the same from there. So when they
Okay.
see the process are the same. And then there is a one layer which is in between. We call it domain layer, but it's not really good because we thought that it will work, but there are many different rules that might collapse when you say it's domain, but it's sort of the domain or business domain layer. So it's a fusion between you have the customer and you have the order, but it could be also kind of a delivery and order. It could be a partner and an order. So you just twist that the
So
same
it means
the
you're
same
talking about data world concept where they play on the entities rather than
exactly
on the subject area.
exactly exactly what we do, we say it's still the same guy. It's still the same company. We don't care, how you call it then afterwards. It's one single source of truth, and that's his number, that's his email, that's his telephone, that could be his organization ID, that could be our hash ID, what we brought now, because we had a client and he had these 60 companies. So we brought one hash and he had like 3 different telephone numbers, 4 different emails. And we said, no, it's just one guy. It's this one company. This is the legacy ID. And it's called, it's sort of a satellite you have
Mm.
with a wall. But single source of truth was there. It's this cornerstone of the solid domains and solid these small business data layers where you can put them together. You can exactly connect each of other, and the connection is defined. It could be one-to-many, it could be one-to-one, it could be also combined. So you can create a concatenate key, yeah? But you are sure about the business rules, which are stable. So if we look at the data and the business rules last year and this year, there might be addition. So they add something, but they don't change anything there. Even though they have this different federated truth, they know when they find the customers there with the number and here the different number, when they look at the point of the original, it's still the same customer. So when there is a guy from headquarters, he will push and he will pull the hash ID. If there is a guy from the company, he will pull just his number because he's using only one service in that company. In other company, he's using 3 services or had the 3 deliveries during the year.
Okay. So it
Yeah,
means when you do impact analysis, you do find a golden record of the entity.
yeah, something like that. But we are trying to simplify that because for us, Vault is very complicated for customers to understand. But we usually simplify that somehow. Of course, there is a trade-off. It's the same like you have really nice and neat data model, and then you create this denormalized table. So of course,
Just for our audience, because a lot of data modelers will be listening to this one, right? Because in our world, normally we used to talk about 3NF, which is bill in month. When we are talking about OLAP, right? In OLAP, in warehousing world, either we normally talk about 3NF, which is bill in month, or Ralph Campbell, which is star schema. So what and both, not both actually bill in month is more over a subject based on subject area, customer
yeah,
subject area, product subject area. The whole 3NF is based on those subject areas, right? And then you come towards Bill and Kimball, which is star schema or snowflake, which is based on the transactional world or based on the business requirement. You create the data mart, right? But now when we talk about agile, I had a session on data world last week actually. And I think that is where you are also coming. That when you go and talk to the customer, based on that, you analyze what is their problem statement. And problem statement, let's say, okay, their problem statement is tagged to orders, right? So you pick order as an entity and you say, okay, where do you find a problem? So they tell you all the context about that
yeah,
variable columns, right? So you pick up all those, put into a logical one place. And then data world goes and convert that into satellite, hub, and link. But I'm not sure what you do it. I think you do it based on the problem statement. You convert that into a hybrid kind of mix model,
yeah,
or
yeah.
what you do?
It's a hybrid. Exactly, it's a hybrid. We still have in mind this Kimball approach, because that's very easy to understand.
Ah.
It has a restriction, and it could be very tricky when you put it to the. We never do the OLAP. That's the first point. We never publish OLAP. So the last time I published OLAP was in 2010, I think.
Now, when you
So
say OLAP, you mean cubes.
yeah, yeah,
So cubes, yeah, it's a history now. because it's so
But many people still think that the data modeling means to have a cube. So that's the problem.
actually you have brought up a very good point. Actually, now we do from landing onward up to delivery, you call it OLAP. Actually, this
Yeah,
whole piece is not OLAP. Cube
yeah,
is the OLAP actually. But
yes,
now
yes.
we use OLAP as a generic word for everything.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the tricky point because the people, are still living in that world. So it needs to be very precisely advised. We do kind of a hybrid. So we're trying to simplify
Hmm.
exactly the historical part of the perspective on data vault. Create. I usually call it a para. It, it's like para fact table.
Hmm.
It's not the original fact table because sometimes we want to bring more information than just the facts and the keys, and the foreign keys. So we usually create two fact tables which might solve 80% of the problems.
Hmm.
So we bring all the dimensions. Usually you need to have them separately. So we bring them into fact tables, put 2 or 3 fact tables in one place, and then started to connect them together via dimensions where you need more rows. You have the history, you have the snapshot. So this is a kind of a hub and dimension. So it as well could be because we have
Okay.
the snapshots there, we have the extra columns there.
Okay.
We put the attributes from 2 dimensions into one because it's easier to understand for the client. So we simplify that perspective for the sake of the business case. But we still use this single source of truth, like where there are all tables, and everything is nice and neat. So then you bring from 10 different tables, you can bring the product and city level or the country level on the different customers, but you can create also the order level on the fact table the same
Hmm.
way. But when you want to do it for the 2 companies, so you will just pull the customers out and you will say, this is account. It's not any more customers because it could be customer in a company, but not customer in the other. So you have
Correct.
2 fact tables, which are very similar, exactly almost the same. You have the customers there, but you have this hub when you put them together and say, this is the account. It's not a customer anymore because he's a he could order, but he could deliver to different company. So he's a partner there because he's selling something to my company, and from other company he's ordering. So I am delivering to him. So there are 2 ways you can see, and you have this is the major part. In that kind of a modeling, you have the possibility to show it to customers directly. You don't need to rebuild the model. You have the chance because it's there. You just pull the correct columns and say, yeah, do you have the flag? He's your supplier? Yes, we have the flag there. Do you have the flag that he's a customer? Yes. So you have this hub, and you
So,
can see
so, so
connect them.
yeah, so it's so exciting that what you are telling is you are not following any specific data modeling pattern. You're not doing.
Uh, it's not true. Of course, we are following
You
it
are
in the
killing the
beginning of the
data
project.
modelers. Huh?
Yeah.
You are
For
killing
the
data modeler jobs.
Yeah. It's like we are following that, but it's in the beginning of the projects. Of course, we are following. We bring the first model, second model, third model, and we're trying to, keep that trade-off. Like, what could be the best possibility for? Because this is what I'm saying. Don't take the BI anymore like thing that is going to stay here forever. What we are doing in our projects, we always keep the customers like, when you build a BI, it takes 12 months, probably 18, and you will ask us to rebuild that completely. You will be asking us to rebuild that completely. You cannot do that on the data warehouse.
Hmm.
That's even more probable that you will be asking that for on the level of the BI. So this is how we approach that. Like,
Ah, okay.
not something stable forever. It's just for that matter of the time to
Hmm.
solve that particular problem. But we still keep on the landing level and on this domain level, this staging and transform level. We keep everything nice and neat. Yeah, we need
So
to
you
have
are so,
all these primary keys, all the foreign keys, and the duplications and stuff. But then when it comes to business layer, you know,
okay, 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 okay.
things are happening there.
Okay. So what you are saying is you still maintain uh, proper data model, but when you go into semantic layer, that is where you play around based on business requirement and business
Yeah,
pain area. So,
exactly.
so, so you follow the transform layer, the unified model. You follow 3NF or star schema or Snowflake. Which one you mean?
It depends. It depends.
Depends. Depends.
Usually we start with the Snowflake schema, then
Okay.
try to simplify it to star schema or unified schema.
Okay.
When it's complex, it's unified schema is always best for us.
Yes.
When it's complex, when the model is complex, let's say you have 5 companies and
Hmm.
they have 4 different transaction systems and 2 ERPs. So then star schema is not gonna work.
It's not going to.
It will
You
fall
have to
apart,
come up with a
right?
3NF, and you have to
So we
find a
go
good.
in 3NF and then try to simplify it on the unified star schema with, let's say, 40 tables together and just putting them, okay, we have almost similar process like that, so we're just putting it on the same level. If it's
Okay.
new, we do the union. But final thing could then be, and that's a trick, could be just the normalized table. Just you bring
Yeah,
these three,
that depend on the
and because
requirement.
because the customer will be asking, okay, let's put it on a weekly level and let's simplify it on first product and the first buy customer. And this way you can bring from that single source of truth, which is very complex, very simple.
Okay.
It's still model because there are maybe 2 tables
Yeah.
together integrated, and the customer is very happy with that because he understands all the facts, all the dimensions, and he can play around, bring their own filters, and is really happy about that.
Okay. So let me throw now a little bit tricky questions toward you, right? Now I'll wear the solution architect cap. Okay.
here's here's my problem.
Now I'll be easy. So what happens now? Data is becoming huge and huge, like anything, right? And we are all in cloud. And due to the advantage of segregation of storage and compute layer, we have a lot of technologies which can spin hundreds of nodes within a second, right? And then it connect with the BI. So BI, it is very important how you integrate BI with your compute, because a query can hit 100 million rows as well. A query can hit nothing, which is a live connection. It is not hitting anything, but it is still consuming the cost. So how do you see that data modeling? Last time you remember we used to import into the uh, reporting layer, and we used to do some kind of virtual modeling over there
Yeah,
in the BI as well.
yeah,
Are those, what is the best practices doing at a data level, doing at a BI level? What do you think?
yeah. Usually, how we start is with the live connections, definitely, and we use as best as possible, as fast as possible. So whether it's a BigQuery, it's a Snowflake. We even tested Firebolt, really like that. So it was super fast. Uh, it differs, it differs from case to case, but always we start with when we're creating these nice and neat models. We always use the compute levels on the highest performance as best as possible. So it costs a lot, but we know it's not gonna take forever because we need the answers as soon as possible. Usually, very typical situations previously 10 years ago, when we're trying to find the root cause analysis, we came to IT guys, they brought us some reports, we came back, and it took like months, so it took ages, to find the final reason. And then the IT guys, they didn't want to change anything anyway. So we brought it somehow. Now, what is the process when we analyze the thing on the workshop? So we open the BI tool, we connect this nice and neat level, which is usually could be the Kimball, could be unified star schema. Everything is nice and neat. It's a lot of tables. We understand them precisely. Customer knows something about them, so we could discuss. And we are asking, him, well, so what would be your wish to find where you think the problem might come from, and then we're just pulling the data straight, on the screen, and he's like, show me this. Oh, this should be like 3,000 something, and there is 4,000. Why it's 4,000? Show me. So we're just pulling straight, and it takes like 10 seconds, and they are totally shocked, like, come on. if I did it with the guys, in IT last time, it took like a month bringing me this report. So okay, let's play. And this takes usually 2 hours, 3 hours, and then we're coming back, and then again and again. But we know it takes like weeks. It's not gonna take months. And afterwards, when we know how to set up and how to simplify all these hundreds of tables into the simplify model, then we started to use the layer for BI. So we are trying to find the BI layer somewhere. It could be a storage, or it could be also its own layer, which is now possibly because also Power BI Click and Tableau, and I think also SAP's got HANA. So you're using the compute there. So you're not wasting your money then just to showing one row. And you don't want to call the AWS and switching for next 5 minutes it will be suspending. So it's like a $10. We had also nice analysis about this. So we are showing like your cost for the first month of the project, and then your cost for the last 8 months of the project. So, and it differs always when there comes a new requirement, it spikes, and then afterwards we simplify it and we bring it on the BI level. So we don't show typical example. A customer asked us about the events on the domains. They have domains. They have like hundreds and hundreds, thousands of the domains, and you have the customers there, and you can think about that like every second you can register the domain, and there is another guy who is trying to register your domain because he wants that domain because it's kind of like a trade, on the stock, because the domain is valuable and it's like 10,000. So they are kind of competing of that. So they're just hitting that every little second for many times until one of them is getting registered, because the domain expires and you need to register this straight away. So there are billions of rows, and they wanted to make it really nice and clean. And we told them like it's impossible. And I said, no, you need to do that because we want to know exactly. And when we started to work on that, it was like billions of rows. And we showed to the customers, and they didn't believe that it's happening in the data. We showed them like, look, this customer had in 12 seconds, he had 24 requests in 12 seconds. So we were like on the granularity on milliseconds. And they're like, this is not possible. It's not possible even in our system. So they find out that even the system is able to hit more than a second, because they thought that when the registration comes, it takes like 1 second to register, and they found out that it's even faster, their system, so they can register like 4 times in a second, and then show them. And we told them, but this is not gonna, work for your data. It will spend like millions of euros, if you want to use it for a year. So we can do it on a weekly basis if you're fine with that, and we can simplify, the records. So we figure out the logic, and we went through the process. So we simplified, these events, because one event is connected with another event, and it's not possible that the event previous comes afterwards. So there are sort of an orders and blah, blah, blah. So we simplified it. So we came from 6 billions of rows into 120 millions of rows, and finally we end up with like 70 millions. So
And
we cannot.
So that is based on you do the workshops. What I'm understanding is the best way of creating this BI layer or a find a impact analysis is to drag everything into front end and do workshops and find out what they really need. Rather than
Exactly.
only on the paper, no, you go front end, drag and drop and keep squeezing the scope. Is that?
Always. Yeah. Last week we sat on the meeting. There was a CEO and a director, and there's company with European worldwide company, and we brought the presentation, and they were asking, okay, so what you do, and blah blah blah, and we asked them for sample data, like, so what you really do, and they send us presentations like. And it was like, oh, we want everything. We want this and that. And I was like, show us some data, bring us the Excel, whatever, what you do. So they gave us like very small Excel, with 2 sheets. So this is something like data works, that it was pulled from SAP. And we went there. We brought the presentation, like first slide, second slide, fifth slide, and we show you the data. And they were like, "Oh, do you have your data?" I mean, not ours. We will show you your data. You send us the data. And the CEO was like, "You had the data. I thought it was not possible to export, you know." And we said, "Yeah, it was like two Excels, very small one, but we want to show you, you know, how to work with that." So we opened that, and he was like, "Ah, this is our data. Nice. You can you click on that filter? Okay, put me that stock. Okay, put me that machine." And he started to click there, and he came with the ideas then afterwards. So today he brought like, "Okay, so bring me the 6 reports. I will give you the data." And guys, I had 4 companies here. All of them brought like 100 pages presentations. You brought 5, and you're in. You know, so we want you because we bring you the data if you're fine with that. And it was like, if your price quotation fits to these 5 topics I'm bringing on top of the table, I'll get you, you know, and I want you to start with the project. So this is like, we always like hands-on, showing reality to the client. This is your reality. It's not our reality on the paper. It's your reality, and let's focus on what could be done with that at the moment, in a year, or in 5 years. So
Okay, so this is a good takeaway, right? You are saying when you are doing an impact analysis or requirement gathering, you are not doing on a paper. What you do is you get the data, you pull data as is, same data model which they have sourced, you bring it into the dashboard front end, and then you, on ad hoc basis, you drag and drop, and you ask them what combination is solving your problem. Then I think
exactly.
that combination you must be implementing in the semantic layer. So semantic layer can talk to the Power BI, and behind semantic layer you must be creating the star schema, Snowflake, whatever you want to do.
Whatever you want,
You do
exactly.
it backward. Of course, if the requirement is only 4 5 entities, you end up creating a data vault. But if the requirement have to connect for 100 tables, then you will create a Snowflake or maybe a 3NF as well. If it is
Yeah,
coming,
exactly.
yeah.
When it scales, you know, when it scales, it's always like that. So you usually like you want to simplify it for the customer. You can read that, but customer is not possible for him to read. But
Actually, you are absolutely right. Even okay, let me brag about my DAS architecture as well. So what is happening in my DAS
yeah,
architecture?
let's go.
No, it's the same thing. I bring standard things, landing, staging, transformed. Within transformed, you can have warehouse 3NF and star schema and snowflake and data world, whatever you can have. The moment you go into semantic layer, there is a virtualized layer as well. Semantically, you can. So my DAS architecture says from day one, the moment data land into landing area, it should connect to the virtual layer day one
Yeah, yeah.
and expose it. Now,
Show
when you
it, exactly. Show it. Yeah,
show it in week or so or 2 weeks, you show as is, and then let them tell you what they want. Whatever they tell, let them keep running their dashboard on 3NF. It will be a little bit slow. Yes, compute will be high, cost will be high, but same time you give it to your IT team to travel back to this all process,
yeah,
all stages one by one. The moment happens after 1 month, yes, 1 month their cost will be high because you are hitting source data model, but after that, it cost will come down. That's what my methodology is as well. So that's a virtual layer. So for me, one door, I normally call it one door in, which is integration hub,
yeah,
one window out, which is a virtualization layer,
yeah,
and
yeah.
rest flows in the middle. Is
Yeah,
that
that's very nice. That's very nice, and I think it's a must for the future. It won't be possible, you know, to create that part of a semi waterfall project where you stay like that and leave your warehouse, you know, computing 2 months to get the answer, because you know the cost will be, you know, you won't leverage, you know, the cost then afterwards. So you need to do it this way at the moment, because Snowflake and Databricks, anyone, you know, and SAP, they are always charging more and more every year. And now even, you know, with the cache, I don't know if you know, but previously, you know, cache was taken for 7 days, and it was taken for 5 days. Now it's taken only for 24 hours. So
Hmm.
every 24 hours, you need to pay for your select. And if you select the same thing, why you would like to select it on the performance level
Yeah.
layer? You can select it, in your whatever, on your diskette,
Yeah. So coming back to our data modeling, right? So again, another takeaway from this session is that a solution should not be created from bottom to up. It has to come from top to bottom.
Always from the top.
All
Yeah.
right. Actually, that was the day one mantra of the whole analytical world. Remember that last one? It was always from top to bottom, but somehow it start going
Well,
the
it was IT processes. Yeah, it was strict
other.
IT processing, which then forced to do it opposite. Like,
Yeah. So it means I'm coming towards. So we have a time check. We have max 10 minutes. So we'll wind up in 50 to 60-minute session, no maximum. So let me come to closing side, right? So we are talking about data products. We had the session the other day, data product ownership, which actually open another Pandora box. Our next panel discussion, I think, is in March. I really want to discuss what is data product. So I think little bit let's also discuss here, right? Because the moment you go toward the data product, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't it difficult to make it as a data as a product? Because for me, data product is different, which solves your one problem, but
yeah,
data as a product
yeah,
can be
yeah,
used for multiple data products. That's what I
yeah.
think.
Yeah, that's the different. That's exactly. This is what you said. It's a federated model. Is a data product for someone, but the
Hmm.
single source of truth is a data as a product. For anyone in a year or two, of course, it's not gonna be solid, stable. It's gonna evolve, but it will be still the same processes from the history to the future for the particular part which is already done. The
Hmm.
new data could have the new processes, but it will be there as well, and it will be ready for these data products
So it
later on.
means you need to have a very good data modeling team sitting there.
Yeah.
Very good. It is more important than ever. Yes, we have gone toward agile. We have gone towards federated, but federated brings more challenging that you need more governance actually.
It's multiplied. You need really good engineers and architects, and they are multiplied. So this is really hard to manage.
Yeah, because you need to know when new data product is coming, you need to know where data as a product is sitting, what you can reuse.
Yeah, exactly.
Reusability need to be in your mind. And when we talk about reusability, as we initially discussed, storage and compute need to be separate. And actually, this unstructured, I kindly also put a light onto unstructured data as well. Because in
And this is what
unstructured,
we're talking about structured data. Yeah, that's only 50% of the world.
so that's the biggest challenge people are facing. A big organization which you are working, which has 15 entities, right? Where I work, there are 100 of entities. Now you have to recover back the cost. If your storage and compute is reused, recovery is a hell. So how
Yeah.
do you face or cater this challenge of cost recovery?
That's For me, it's still some kind of undefined final solution because
Okay.
it's like, where would it sit? Usually, because where would it sit? Should it sit on a BI level? Should it sit on the database level? How now we always, and yesterday it hit me really hard. We always start to keep the projects the way that if yesterday somebody deleted it, we can click one button and it will be just processed again fully, the full data. With full data, it has to be done like that. Even if it's a billions of rows, we have to do it like that. Of course, it will cost us 100 euros per second, but it will be there. This is how we always build the project. So we have these increments and blah blah, but they are still ready, full loads, even not on cloud. We can download it, to our computer,
Ah,
pulling data and using my computer 8 hours, and the data will be there. If it fails, data will be there. So for me, it's still not solved the problem. Or shall I use analytical layer, which is very expensive, to have this rollback 60 days? Do I need that? And
I was
keep that
about to
every
say that.
you know,
I was
database has got that. So why? I can pull it from the database. If the database fails, okay, it's their problem. You know, they need to do that. So it's only an IT part, and they had to do it if they're certified, of course. This is what we are asking. You know, it's happened that it's, you know, somebody did it through a database, you know, production database. We spent 8 hours like
to
yeah,
rerun the whole thing.
still missing. I think they missed still 1 hour or 2 hours were impossible, you know, to recover because there were some processes in between. They had 3 databases. So it happened, but we had the data. We had already the data. So they came back to our data, and some of those they inserted back manually. But then they said that they left, okay, so there will be 10 minutes or 20 minutes, you know, black window. So, but we had the data. At least at one part there are the data, so you can justify that. But from our perspective, it's always like you need your projects to be ready with the full load, whatever happens, offline. You
Offline.
know, offline, even offline. You can have that somewhere offline. You know, all these ETLs written, you know, that's fine. It's on GitHub, but it has to be somewhere in your computer, somewhere, you know, at least on some list, you know, anywhere. Some backup of the partial of the process, maybe the data, you know, just the last year, whatever. There has to be somewhere, you know, stored next to cloud. And what is happening, you can't rely really on cloud because it takes ages. And then when it's, you know, recovers, do you know what's going to be there? I'm not sure.
Yeah. So what I feel is that whenever you're processing something, there has to be a on-prem center there.
Yeah.
So for recovery, for backup and recovery, anything fails, all need to be done down there.
Because I tend, or we tend to very similar, like a simplified solutions. Because when we do the ETLs, we always have them somewhere offline. When we do something else, we let that offline. We even back up some, you know, of the most important data storage and the data sources. It's like hundreds of gigabytes. But even though we download it, you know, it takes like a few hours. But we have it somewhere, and we say, yeah, this is like a week ago. And something like that, because we are still paranoid, you know, with that. And if you want to be really 100% sure that everything's fine, even though we had that in cloud, we had everything there in the cloud, you can reprocess it, and it's very easy. 2 days ago, yeah, some breach failed, so it took us like 1 hour or 3 hours, 1.5 hours, and the customer told us, you are the only company that had it in the first hour. And it never happened before, you know, it always took like 24 hours to get back, you know, to the data. And after 2 hours, we already, you know, seen the data. So it was like, wow. And we said, but now it's possible, you know, it's different. But even though we had this offline world, like for ourselves, just
Yeah,
you
so
know,
data is growing like anything, and this compute layer cost is going, especially Gen AI. You know, it costs by at one token by token. So you have to have some offline infrastructure sitting over there, which is your backup to do all this kind of stuff. Even actually, when I think about you create Gen AI offline, you train your, Llama model and all those things. Better to train it on your offline
yeah,
infrastructure.
this is what we do. Yeah, exactly. You can do it in a Raspberry, you know, so it's pretty easy.
Yeah,
So
because if you do over there on the cloud, every time it is spinning, it's charging you. But if you do it on your own infrastructure, it's your infrastructure. Nobody is costing you anything. You're just
yeah,
running it.
and you can even find that some of the trainings are not are useless, you know. So why would you pay for that? So that's the important thing. When sometimes when the data is huge, I just pull, you know, the it's typical statistical, you know, processing. So you just bootstrap the data. So you pull the different periods, but I download it to my computer and I just, you know, leave it for 5 minutes there. I don't care, you know. I have a coffee, do something else, and then it reprocesses data, and I'm putting another table. And when there are 30 tables and it takes only 20, 25 minutes, I'll see that nothing changes in the data. I don't want to, you know, spend it on a performance level because it's for myself, it's for me. And I bring to client, and I had already the hypothesis. So I'm not spending, you know, the money on things that I could, you know, compute easily offline. So there should be a reasonable approach to performance and the outcome, you know. So have it, I think there will be some kind of a renaissance of the hardware one time. So
Yeah.
some companies will have, it's not going to be that huge performance, but it will be some decent performance on your on-prem, and you have it ready, for anything like that, because it will save you a lot of money.
Thank you so much, Marek. I think there were a lot of takeaways from this session for me, and I hope for everyone. The major takeaway is make the data available to end user ASAP, as soon as possible, without any transformation, and then do the transformation. And transformation cannot be one go transformation. It has to be based on the business requirement. You can have 3NF, you can have star schema, you can have anything based on the business requirement.
Exactly. And the last point, which I always try to explain to clients, and they don't understand that at the beginning. I'm telling them, data is organic process. It's organic. It's evolving. It's like a child is growing. You can't buy the clothes. You can't buy the bicycle. You can't buy, a ski. Whatever you buy for your kid, in 2 years, it's not gonna work. He can, use the bicycle. He can wear the clothes because he's 20 centimeter older. This is the same your BI. It's always, you start with something and you don't even know at this moment what your requirements will be in 6 months and in 12. And usually approximately in 18 months, you totally differentiate then your requirements from the original requests and this kind of approaches, because you can rebuild the team. There will be a new guys coming with a new experience. There will be a new developers, and there will be a new tools, which helps you, to define differently the layers. Of course, there still will be the solid single source of truth, which should follow the processes of the company, which should follow the data modeling. Well, it's not going to be exposed to final businesses. That will be very fast changing. So that's the most important thing.
Awesome. Thank you, Marek. Thank you so much, and pleasure to connect with you. And we will connect again on our DAS architecture.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me. It's a pleasure. It's always a pleasure, to talk. So,
It was pleasure.
And I'm looking forward. It's really fast evolving world at the moment, I think.
I'm telling you, I'm learning so much from these podcasts. Last week I had this data wall, and really, so see, learning from documentation and learning really while talking is totally different beast.
Yeah, and if you have the experienced people, they will tell you. So this is the point. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that, and thank you for sharing the information. And
Take care. Take care. Have fun.
so have you. Greetings to everyone watching. Bye.
Bye bye.